What's up YouTube? Today I want to talk about going full circle because I think I've gone full circle. What that means for me and how I feel about it is what we're going to talk about in this video. So going full circle in my experience means that you've kind of taken advice, changed your behavior to something and then realized that you would have been better off not following that advice and doing the same thing that you did in the first place. For example, you decided to start meditation and then after a year you find out it doesn't really give you anything and you're kind of back to like just not doing it, or you're quitting something and after a while you realize you probably shouldn't have quit doing that because you get like new information, new advice. And that brings me to advice, which is something I've been thinking about a lot as well recently, because I'm always trying to get advice, looking at YouTube videos, reading books, reading articles, blogs about digital minimalism or whatever, could be anything. And sometimes you kind of get contradictive advice. You get a different opinion and view and stuff, and you end up following an advice which puts you right back at the start. And it kind of like lets you think about, have I been wasting my time this entire time? Maybe I shouldn't just take any advice anymore. If someone tells me the next time that I should start cleaning my shoes every week, maybe I should just not even start doing that, because a year later I'm going to realize it's not worth it. Or some other person says, just never clean your shoes. Whatever, it could be anything. So some examples maybe to get this to stick more is hustle culture, or people telling you to quit everything, focus on one thing, and that way you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. So say you quit anything else. So I quit like some kind of sports, some kind of activities. Maybe I'm not going to basketball training anymore or anything. So then after half a year or a year, I realized you get kind of like burned out if you only work on one thing and staying up until 3 a.m., waking up at 8 a.m. or anything, not getting enough sleep, not having any leisure time. You kind of realize, yeah, that maybe you should have just stick playing basketball, doing what you've been doing, and not taking that advice. And that's kind of like giving you something in the sense that you learned your lesson and kind of can strike the balance now, but maybe you should have just done what you did in the first place. Another example would be you hear something about nutrition, like the latest study article came out which tells you it's super unhealthy to eat too much fruit. So you stop eating fruit, you just eat one apple or banana a day. Then half a year later you realize that eating fruit is better than eating junk food, and maybe you should eat more fruit instead of eating junk food to replace that fruit or anything. Or another study comes out that says you can eat as much fruit as you would want to. So sometimes it feels like taking advice just doesn't take you anywhere. And not all advice works the same for all people. So in the end, I think it's about balance, as a lot of like advices in the end turn to balance. But in that case, I mean personal balance. So you need to find out what works for you. And sometimes you go full circle. Sometimes you try something and realize that you would have been better off just not doing it at all. And maybe that's part of the process. But sometimes if you go full circle several times, you start to wonder why you're doing this. And yeah, it's a topic I've been thinking about. Should you really explore that much, or just stick with what works for you? It kind of makes you question all that popular advice right now, which is like popular in the moment, like start meditating, do this, do that, hustle culture, and maybe 3 years later everybody's like on another trip, enjoy your life, do this, do that. And it kind of makes you more aware of what advice you really take. And that is something I want to send you home with. Always be aware of what you're getting into. Sometimes you're just following the trend. Maybe being a minimalist is also just following the trend. in a way, maybe you're gonna come full circle. Maybe you're gonna start buying back all your stuff after becoming a minimalist. Something. Maybe you're gonna start eating different after you've had a diet for so long. So anyways, be aware of what advice you take, because sometimes it's gonna take you exactly where I started, and that can be part of the process. Anyways, that's been my opinion on going full circle. Have you ever taken any advice that's brought you right back to the start because it turned out that advice just wasn't working for you? Also leave a like down below, and I'll see you all in the next video.